Again, I'm with Tressa Yellig, and she's talking about her new business, Broth Bar, and specifically talking about the health benefits of bone broth. So, Tressa, please continue.
So what's exciting, as I was saying, is that we will really be able to stand behind the nutrition panels on our broth, which I think gives us an edge against other bone broth manufacturers who are trying to take advantage of the trend and make a product that maybe doesn't have the same therapeutic grade that we are trying to create.
So these are really truly food as medicine, really
right.
nourishing, giving even folks, whether they're going to a naturopath or an acupuncturist, but just giving folks the opportunity to self-prescribe.
To participate in
yeah.
their own health.
Yeah.
There's a place where what a health practitioner is doing ends and someone has to continue. That's the lifestyle piece.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place where there's sort of a gray area between the end of therapeutics and transition into regular life. And that's where I think bone broth really plays a role at transitioning, because it supports the body in not cannibalizing itself in times where protein is a little more sparse. Mm-hmm. That's why it's considered a protein sparer. It prevents the body from eating itself. But it also goes straight to energy. It's immediately digested. The body doesn't have to work at all to enjoy all of that nutrition that's in the broth, which is why it's such a beautiful convalescent food, mm-hmm. And so immediately accessible to the body.
Oh.
Yeah.
So tell us, what's the experience going to be when you show up and arrive at Broth Bar?
Broth Bar.
Broth Bar, I'm sorry. Broth Bar.
Broth Bar, it's really mostly a to-go situation. Think of it as a coffee shop that serves bone broth. Okay. So we will have a variety of bundles there for folks that just want to add a few ingredients or folks that want to make it a meal. So and then we'll have a few stir-ins like grated ginger and turmeric, or some little things you can put in like a little bit of fat with some greens powder or medicinal mushrooms. But then we'll have things that folks can add in like kelp noodles, poached eggs, chicken hearts, braised beef tongue, and things of that nature. But what everyone will have access to is the cup of warm broth and our condiment bar, which will have a variety of salts, some hot sauces, tamari, etc. Mm-hmm. With the intention being, again, experientially, how do you do your broth?
Yeah.
What makes it enjoyable?
Yeah.
What's great about bone broth is that it's very mild, so it's accessible to anyone. There's not a lot that goes into it. It's not meant to act like a Campbell's soup broth.
Right.
It's really meant to be a medicinal or a therapeutic, so it's easy to dress up. Mm-hmm. And so by kind of letting people customize their experience of the bone broth, it gets personal, and it becomes part of their morning routine. But if it needs to be a meal, it can be a meal.
Wow.
So
that's brilliant. Yay! I'm so proud of you. That's such a brilliant concept, and I cannot wait. I'm going to be regular at Broth Bar. I'm going to be there all the time. I'm going to be like, oh, Leah's back. But I love it, and it's something, from my selfish personal point of view that I need because of my own digestive issues. So I'm so excited, and I'm constantly driving around because I have celiac disease, I'm constantly driving around thinking I'm craving soup. It's my favorite food, and it's the most nourishing thing. I'm spleen deficient in Chinese medicine, so I'm constantly wanting warm soups, even broths. And if I'm on the go as I am, my life is a little crazy. It's often hard for me to find places where I can pull in after, coaching lacrosse for the evening or whatever. It's 8 o'clock at night. It's a little on the late side. I don't feel like cooking. Or if it's in the afternoon and I'm in between meetings, it's often hard for me to find places. I have very limited places where I can go get a bowl of soup that I know is gluten-free and safe for me to eat. So for me to have access to that, I think you're going to see so many people like-minded who are going to, and people are just going to, off the sidewalk, going to discover you guys. Right. That are going to just be so relieved to have a place like that in our community.
The nice thing is it sells itself. I think a lot of people are very curious, but since bone broth is something that's so labor-intensive, it's a big leap.
Yeah.
And so to give people an access point gives them sort of a physiological, visceral experience that then they can decide if they want to try to pursue on their own or if they just want to let us take care of that for them, because we will also have a full array of retail items to go.
Yeah.
So people can buy a quart of bone broth, they can buy a salad, they can fill a growler of booch. All of our other products will be available there, and then a bunch of other we'll curate a little thing like we do now, the hard to find supplements, things that you might want to add to your broth or that go along with broth, or things that are part of another healing foods protocol.
What about recipes? I mean, can people will they have access to
We have some recipes on the blog, and we'll be doing a lot more, especially as Broth Bar opens, to help folks engage that process a little bit more.
So if they take something home, what to do. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you do have a couple products here that we can take a peek at. Do you want to go ahead and
let me show you
and show the audience?
So we have a few. This is what to look for in our store. The beef and the turkey and the lamb. These are three that I'm a really big fan of. Everyone seems to start on the chicken, but then they always end up on the beef. I think they're always kind of looking for a richer experience, but there's something about chicken that always seems to act as a gateway protein.
Well, and I think when people think of chicken broth, they think of, chicken soup for the soul kind of thing.
Right.
Like, when you're sick, your grandmother gave you chicken broth.
Exactly.
So it is a great segue or a starting point. But I love the idea of the beef, and I'm really excited to try the more exotic, the bison and the lamb. That to me just sounds genius. And I am curious about the difference when you're talking about a lamb broth, and that's a younger animal versus maybe a beef broth. Like, what are there differences in that in what's physiologically happening in the bone?
Not as much in the bone. I think of it more as an energetic difference, as there is in most aspects of Chinese medicine, an energetic difference. For instance, maybe the lamb would be a better food for a child. Or I guess, some foods might be more warming, more cooling, more appropriate to different conditions, and you can choose by animal what you want. Right. What I love about diversifying the kinds of animals that we're using is that when you get away from beef and chicken, you get away from generations of hybridization.
Yeah.
And you get to see things that are a little less adulterated. I mean, there are aspects of that sort of hybridization that are just very natural to animal husbandry. But for the sake of factory farming, not that we ever source from someone that would be involved in that kind of an operation, we put a lot of energy into sourcing from reputable ranchers that are not using hormones, not using additional antibiotics, that are, making sure their animals are being fed GMO-free feed if they have to. But mostly animals on pasture. But still, the genetics of the animal have been adjusted. There's reasons why people talk about what's remaining in the chickenness of the chicken or the cowness of the cow. But those questions never come up when we're talking about ducks or turkeys or lambs or bison because they just haven't gained enough popularity to require those kinds of modifications in behavior or size. People just accept them as they are. So in a way, I consider them almost a little bit more pure, a little more clean.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A little more ancient, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm very excited about your products, the new place.
Thank you.
Please let the audience know where they can pick up if they want to get the bone broths to go. They want to come by, or can they order online? How can they access that?
We offer local delivery in town on Wednesdays and Fridays through our shipping and delivery department, which is just on the website at saltfireandtime.com.
You want to spell that out for people?
It's salt, SALTFIREANDTIME.com.
Yeah.
And you can order online. We ship anywhere in the States, and but we will be selling out of the new spot, Broth Bar, which will be at 115 Northeast 6th Avenue. Hopefully we'll be open by the end of June. Until then, we're still selling out of our production kitchen, which is down at 3rd and Clay in Southeast. The address is 1630 Southeast 3rd Avenue.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of ways to get access to it.
Okay. And I'll put all of that information out when I post the podcast, and of course promote it in social media. You'll see us on Facebook. Right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Leah. This is so fun to be here.
So thrilled for what you're up to, and we can't wait for the launch. So we'll be sure to share details again on social media. Let everyone know when Broth Bar will be open, and of course where you can reach Tressa and her products. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Take care.